Hello and welcome to our Space Pathways Dialogue. Today we have Colin Philp, the President of the British Interplanetary Society. Good day, Colin.
Morning, Rudy.
The Society has a history of over 91 years. The British Interplanetary Society is dedicated to promoting the exploration of space for the benefit of humanity by connecting people to create, educate, and inspire and advance knowledge in all aspects of astronautics. Philip, please give us a brief overview of the BIS.
Well, thanks, Rudy. Thanks for the opportunity to come onto your podcast. The BIS started in 1933, and it was the pioneers of British astronautics that came together, and led by a guy called Phil Cleater, and it brought together engineers, scientists, and enthusiasts to come up with the first concepts in space exploration that would actually come to fruition. So engineers designing the vehicles that would take us into space, so rocketry, and onto vehicles that would take us onto the moon. So it was groundbreaking stuff at the time. And just to put it into perspective, in 1933, it was only 30 years after the Wright brothers had first flown. So we were actually in the infancy of aviation. We'd never flown in space at that point. So the BIS was regarded quite as a bunch of eccentrics at the time. Actually, talking about going into space was regarded as a bit left field at the time, but it all kind of came true. So the space age started in 1957 with Sputnik, and has been developing ever since. So the BIS came together to provide the vision, as it were, for the space age and for astronautics and space exploration.
Excellent. And what are the ongoing projects?
Well, we've got a lot of our members involved with technical projects. So anyone with a technical background can get involved in a technical project, or they can actually start up their own projects. And at the moment, we've got 4 projects on the go. We've got a major one, which is called the Aqualuna Challenge, which is a £1.2 million international challenge prize focused on making human habitation in space possible by finding ways to purify water buried beneath the lunar surface. So that is quite an important project for us. We're one of 10 finalists that's been selected. So we have a team working on this concept at the moment. We have another one on Mars engineering standards. So the project aims at considering the technical challenges of operating in a Mars settlement. So actually devising common standards, interfaces, interoperability of functional parts and other aspects, they'll be part of that study. So it's quite important as we move to Mars that we have common standards for the infrastructure that we set up. Third project is called Orbital Settlements, and it's called the BIS Space Project, and it's following up on the visionary work of Gerard K. O'Neill in the 1970s, who came up with the concept of space colonies. So this is giant human habitats in space, typically in huge tubes, many kilometers long, about 8 to 10 kilometers diameter, including farmland, lakes, rivers. So you're talking about actually recreating Earth in a giant tube in space. So that's pretty amazing stuff. And what we're doing is updating that with the latest developments in technology. So improvements in the design and the materials used and the construction. We have another project, the 4th one, which is called Q-Cube, which is an educational project, and it's developing a 10 by 10 by 2.5 centimeter quarter-sized CubeSat for educational purposes. So with a 3D printed structure and involving the avionics based on a Raspberry Pi nano module. And this is about getting students involved and bringing the cost down substantially, so we can get into a space um, launch, if you like, of this relatively cheaply. So those are our 4 projects at the moment.
Yeah, you've kind of touched on it there, but why should we explore space? Why does space matter, and what are the benefits of space exploration?
Yeah, I mean it's a good question. It's for the ultimately it's for the public good. Um, a famous space pioneer, a Russian space pioneer called Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, one of his quotes was, and this really brings it home, is the Earth is the cradle of humanity, but one cannot live in the cradle forever. So humanity is in the process of expanding into space and developing our infrastructure in space. And I think it's a natural part of our natural curiosity and our sense of exploration that we have a sort of deep-seated need to go beyond the boundaries. And I think humanity is in that process at the moment. This is a sort of quite a revolutionary time in space exploration. But it is an exciting time as we spread out into space, develop industries there, and also, yeah, communications is a huge part of that. Other things like tourism will come into it as well. So, and also improving our scientific knowledge. What we've done through space is hugely improved our knowledge of the universe and our place in it, and that alone, I think, is worth the effort that's put into space. So awareness of science in education, scientific and technical awareness, expanding the realm of human experience. If you think what human spaceflight has done, it's taken us out of our environment and into space, and some of the most profound insights into our life on Earth have actually come from space. And the thing that kind of inspired me into space was the Apollo 8 mission in 1968 as a young kid, and it was in a way going into space. But the thing we discovered was the Earth, because we looked back at the Earth for the first time as a disk, as our home in space, and realized it's our only home in space, and it's fragile. And one of the crew members on Apollo 8, William Anders, took that famous photograph called Earthrise above the moon, and that, in some respects, was one of the inspirations for the environmental movement in the 1960s. So we realised that this is our Earth, and it's a fragile place, and we've got to look after it. And that photograph had a huge impact and still does. There's also the uh, realm of international collaboration. If you look at an organization like ESA, the European Space Agency, there are 27 nations there fully cooperating on space exploration. And that's, I think, a wonderful thing to see across all cultures, languages, that you have 27 natures cooperating to produce fantastically inspirational projects in space exploration. That, again, is something that is so exciting and inspirational. And I think overall, there's the human cultural development. As we come together as one Earth, hopefully, that we move out there and settle into space in a peaceful way. And I think that's what the BIS is all about: is the peaceful exploration and use of space.
Excellent, excellent. So, can you tell us a bit more about the Reinventing Space conference and the Sir Arthur Clarke Awards that went with that?
Yeah, yeah. This was started in 2005 by the Arthur C. Clarke Foundation, but the BIS runs it at the present time, and it's a way of recognizing achievement in space. So that's either individuals or teams producing projects or pushing forward space exploration in the UK. So it's a way of recognizing that. So it's almost the Oscars, if you like, for space in Britain and the UK. So it's a nice way to recognize people who perhaps might not have been recognized in other ways, but to actually say, what you're doing is valuable, and we do recognize it, and we have this awards ceremony for them.
So what were the key takeaways for you this year, and highlights? What surprised you?
Yeah, I mean, there was an incredible range of subjects involved. I mean, one thing that inspires me about the BIS is the sheer range of subjects in space. Um, I mean, I'll read out just a quick selection of some of the subjects we had. We had space elevators, lunar industrialization, detecting extraterrestrial life, the case against privatization in space, off-world nuclear waste disposal, satellite collision avoidance, in situ resource utilization, industry, government, and academia cooperation, space-based solar power, SpaceX recovery operations, and we had a student day as well, where we welcomed students along to come up with their own projects and present at the end of the day. So that was really inspirational stuff.
Excellent. And I was fortunate to join you at the Arthur C. Clarke Awards, and actually sat on the table with one of the winning teams, and that's Professor Robert Walsh's team, as it related to the sun, which is a fantastic project, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the Sun project. Yeah, it was. They were one of the main winners. So it's a collaboration between the artist Alex Rinsler and astrophysicist Robert Walsh and the Sun team to create a unique ball of fire light sculpture that, when touring the country, surprises and challenges the general public's perception of our nearest star. So that was one of those sort of creative projects that we like to promote. So yeah, it was great to have them along.
And I think what's great about that project, and I look forward to it being in some of our neighbourhoods in London, and is that it, the use of the arts and linking with space. I think that's, and space education. I think that's really important. Could you talk a bit more about the linkage between the two, and the importance of engaging young people and the public as a whole?
Yeah, yeah, that's an interesting point about the sort of art and the science, which I think is something at the BIS we strive to combine. Of course, we were started by the scientists and the engineers, but the art is very important as well, and the science fiction. So the imaginative side of it is crucial. And at the BIS, we have a motto. The motto of the society is "From imagination to reality." So yeah, we like to foster the and encourage the imaginative side of spaceflight as well. One of our early chairmen was a guy called Ralph Smith, who was a brilliant draftsman and artist, and he came up with many of the visual concepts for space exploration at the time. So this is 1940s, 1950s. So we've got a brilliant collection and gallery of his work at the BIS, and it kind of encapsulates the vision for space that we had in the 1940s and 1950s. So it was really incredibly exciting and inspiring stuff for someone to actually um, visualize what space exploration would look like for the public. That was very, very important in those days.
Yeah, I think it would make a great space project where you have art and culture at the center.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's yeah, very, very important. So yeah, the art of space is something we celebrate. We've had lectures on this as well. We've got quite a famous space artist involved with us called David Hardy, who's very famous in the space art world, who's done some amazing work over the decades. And he's another of these sort of space visionaries, space artists who help the public, visualize what space exploration could look like. And I think if you can see what space exploration would look like, you can understand it very, very quickly.
Absolutely. And as they say, seeing is believing.
Yeah, yeah.
So that brings us kind of neatly to our role in terms of space pathways. So our role is to increase space education through public outreach, with our priority focus on sustainable space and sustainable development. I should say space and sustainable development. So our program of activities will showcase how space science and technology align with the Sustainable Development Goals. So agriculture, disaster management, hands-on STEM programs for talent development, environmental monitoring, sports performance, MSMEs ecosystem. And that's quite an important project being developed with the Caribbean Space Society. And we see the BIS as being important because that provides the knowledge base as well. We also have another project across Africa called the Futures Forum. And in fact, both these organizations have been founded by Dr. Claire Nelson. So another important of our work is women in space, which I think is really important to promote. And we've had some really good support as well and influence from Joel Singh, GEC Space CEO for the GEC Space City program. Also, Dr. Sunday Popaola, who's at Imperial College London, again, working with space. Alderman Professor Emma Edam, who again is doing a lot of work around space, City of London, and inspiring young people. And in fact, also recently we heard from Air Vice Marshal Ronald Munro, and he's at the Royal Air Force, and he spoke about the importance of space there, again, inspiring the public. So I think this whole space movement coming down into our communities, into our neighborhoods, is really important. And then next year, we'll be having a Space Pathway Expo with a gentleman called Dean Roden. He's actually put together a reggae STEM program. And again, his space activities relate to robotics, encouraging young people to build the robots, and right down to 6 years old. It's really inspiring to see that. So I think this wider involvement of the public and having an organization like BIS that has that knowledge base, I think it's really important. So could you tell us a bit more about how people can connect with BIS and how they can get involved in generally? And this is both local as well as internationally.
Yeah, well, we're a membership society, so our membership is, the core of everything really. It's the people involved, and you can join very easily online. There's a membership subscription. You get a yearly membership through that, and you get our main publication, which is called Spaceflight Magazine, which is a monthly summary of current affairs in space. Very comprehensive journal. Yeah, you can get involved with the evening lectures, with our symposia on various subjects. You've got access to our library in London, in Vauxhall, which is probably the best astronautics library in the country. Yeah, you can meet like-minded people. You can meet astronauts, engineers, scientists, authors in space through the BIS. So it really is quite an exciting place to be involved. And I've personally met half the Apollo moonwalkers through the BIS. So actually shaking hands with someone who's walked on the moon is pretty amazing. So we have astronauts visit us. So you can really connect to the sort of inside connection to the space industry and the world of space. And in many ways, we're kind of the home of space. We've been talking about space since 1933. So yeah, 91 years now of space. So yeah, we're quite proud of that fact that we've been here since before the space age began talking about space and coming up with, these pioneering concepts in space exploration.
Excellent. And if you can just tell us the website for those who might be interested.
Yeah, it's www.bis-space.com. So it's bis-space, space.com. That's our website. So yeah, have a look and you can join that way as well. And yeah, we've got our HQ in Vauxhall, London, Southwest London. A few minutes walk, about 4 minutes walk from Vauxhall Station, Vauxhall Tube Station. So we are Central London based, but we do have branches as well. We've got a branch in the West Midlands in the Birmingham area, and we've got other branches just about happening now. We've got another one in Rome, which is very active. So we do have that sort of international presence, and the BIS has a worldwide membership, literally right across the world. So it is an international operation, if you like.
Excellent. And I certainly look forward to when we open a branch in Jamaica.
Yeah, yeah. No, that would be great. Yeah. No, I mean branches are important, and it
Yeah.
depends on having one or two people kind of stand up and take responsibility and say, "Yeah, we're going to form a BIS branch," and find a meeting place and bring in people to give talks on space. And yeah, so it's we do encourage branches wherever they can be set up.
Excellent. So, Colin, this has been most inspiring, and I'm pleased that I joined as a member. So I certainly will be an ambassador for the organization.
Yeah,
So
well, just to thank you, Rudy, for joining. Yeah, I mean, it's great that you're a new member, and I welcome you.
thank you very much. So thank you and good day.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rudy. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks.